Today, we are looking at 100 mistakes that a new project manager makes and how to avoid them. If you are a new project manager, there are few things that no one tells you. Most of the projects don't fail because of the bad tools or tight deadlines. They fail because of small mistakes that are repeated consistently across the life cycle of the project. In this video, I'll walk you through 100 mistakes a new project manager makes and more importantly, how to avoid them so you can manage projects with confidence, clarity and control from day one. Welcome to PMX Hub, where we break down real-life project management into strategies you can actually use on the project. Let's dive into the most critical mistakes phase by phase. We'll start with initiation, then planning, then executing, then monitoring and controlling, and then closing. I will go very quickly on each and every one mistake, so not lingering too much on each one of them. I will just talk about the mistake that is made and how to avoid it. Let's begin with initiation. First, failing to define clear project objectives leads to confusion and misaligned expectations. How to avoid this? So at the beginning of the project, document SMART goals. Goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant and time-bound. Also, they should be agreed upon by stakeholders. Not identifying all the stakeholders early causes resistance later. First of all, at the beginning of the project, map out all the stakeholders, find their interest, their power, and plot them on the power and interest grid. Ignoring business value results in low project priority. So always clearly connect the outcome of the project with organizational objectives. Weak project justification leads to lack of support from the stakeholders and sponsors. So build a strong business case with measurable benefits. Skipping the feasibility analysis results in unrealistic projects. So you need to validate the technical, economical and operational feasibility upfront. Not defining the KPI or the success criteria for the project. This causes unclear outcomes. So, establish measurable success metrics early in the project. Poor stakeholder communication creates mistrust. So, communicate with the stakeholders early, align with their expectations early in the project. Lack of sponsor engagement reduces authority. So, always secure active executive sponsorship. Undefined scope creates confusion in the project. Project manager needs to document the high-level boundaries of the scope early in the project. Ignoring risks early in the project leads to costly surprises later on the project. So identify all the high-level risks during initiation of the project. Over-promising timelines damages credibility. So always set realistic timelines, realistic expectations. Not assigning roles and responsibilities early causes accountability gap. So define the roles and responsibilities early in the project. Use tools like Racing Matrix, RAM. Skipping kickoff planning leads to weak alignment of the team with the project. So prepare structured kickoff sessions. Assuming stakeholder alignment causes conflict. So validate your assumptions early in the project. Validate them explicitly. Lack of documentation creates ambiguity. Create documentation from the beginning, starting with the project charter. Not understanding the constraints of the projects leads to failure. The constraints like budget, time, scope, quality, these constraint limits need to be defined early. Ignoring organizational politics creates resistance. So navigate these relationships with stakeholders, sponsors carefully. Weak charter development leads to confusion. So create a project charter initially in the project. That should show the high-level goals of the project, the high-level planning, high-level risks, the name of the project manager, and all the high-level information that needs for the project to go ahead, including the values that it is going to create. Not defining the deliverables of the project leads to unclear outputs. So list down all the expected deliverables of the project early on. Failing to secure approvals causes delays. So get a formal sign-off before moving on. Next phase is the planning phase. Poor scope definition leads to scope creep. So create a detailed project scope statement. Skipping work breakdown structure causes chaos. So break the project work into manageable tasks and assign them individual work breakdown structure numbers. And then it's easier to manage each and every task. Unrealistic scheduling leads to missed deadlines. So use the data-driven estimates. Some benchmarks from previous projects need to be used to estimate the future work. Ignoring task dependencies, they cause delays. So map the task relationship clearly. Which one starts together, which one finishes together, which one starts after the earlier finishes. All these start to finish, finish to start relationships, dependencies need to be mapped. Not planning resources creates overloading. So allocate the resources based on their capacity. Weak risk planning leads to costly surprises. That's why identify all the risks initially. Build a good risk management plan where you list down all the identified risks, assess them on the basis of their impact and their probability. Ignoring stakeholder expectation causes dissatisfaction. To align the plans with the needs of the identified stakeholders. No communication plan that creates confusion and non-transparency. So define a communication plan, the communication channels, and how frequent you need to communicate. Poor budgeting leads to overruns. So estimate the costs as accurate as possible. Over-optimism and lack of contingency planning creates failure. So always include some buffers. Try to include some percentage on top of the estimated figures. Not prioritizing tasks lead to inefficiency. So always focus on critical path activities, the activities that are going to take the maximum project duration. Overcomplicating the planning creates confusion. Keep the plans clear and actionable. Ignoring the team input reduces engagement. So always involve team in planning. No quality plan leads to poor output. So define your quality standards early on the project. Weak documentation in planning creates misalignment. Maintain a structured planning document. You need to know where are each and every plan of the project, whether they are documented, whether they are coming from a software tool. It doesn't matter which software or tool you are using, but the documents or plans need to be structured. Ignoring the lessons learned leads to mistakes. Always during planning of the project, please review the lessons learned from past executed projects. Not having a change management plan creates chaos every time a change is introduced. So define a change management plan or how the changes will be handled. Underestimating the risks leads to failure. So assess their probability and impact realistically. Not aligning with organizational strategy reduces the value of the project. So try to connect the plans to the business goals. Poor timeline visualization causes confusion. So use clear scheduling tools. Simple tools like an Excel sheet, a Gantt chart, or Primavera P6, all of them give good visualization tools. Ignoring external dependencies causes delays. So account for outside factors. Factors like some external vendors, suppliers, subcontractors, material suppliers. The impact of delays by all of them need to be considered. Having no escalation process creates delays. So define clearly the issue escalation paths. Overloading the team members reduces productivity. So balance the workload on each team member. Ignoring communication styles creates conflict. Try to adapt your communication with different stakeholders, be it a client, be it internal stakeholders, be it vendors, suppliers, subcontractors. There has to be, or the general public, there has to be different ways of communicating with them, and their communication styles you need to match with them. Having no performance metrics leads to unclear progress. So define the key performance indicators of the project early on. Poor stakeholder mapping creates gaps. Refine your stakeholder analysis. Not validating your assumptions leads to confusion. Validate your assumptions as early as possible with your stakeholders, with your sponsors. Weak procurement planning causes delays. Plan the procurement requirements early. Plan the vendor needs early. Ignoring the compliance requirements creates risk. So ensure the regulatory alignment of the project with the compliance requirements. Lack of internal alignment across teams causes confusion. So ensure there is proper internal cross-functional coordination within the teams. The execution phase. Poor team communication leads to mistakes. So maintain continuous, consistent updates. Micromanaging the team reduces their morale. So trust your team with whatever responsibility they have been given. Lack of leadership causes confusion. Make sure there is a clear direction to the team. Ignoring the issues causes delays in resolution. Address the problems as early as possible, as discreetly as possible. Very important. Weak tracking causes loss of control. So monitor the progress continuously. Daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. Not managing expectations causes dissatisfaction. So communicate regularly. Ignoring team feedback reduces improvement. So listen actively. Poor conflict resolution harms productivity. So address the conflicts early. Lack of motivation reduces output. So keep the teams engaged and motivated. Not managing stakeholders causes misalignment. So maintain engagement with stakeholders. Weak quality control leads to rework. So enforce your quality standards. Ignoring risks leads to crisis. So track and mitigate all the risks. Risk management is a continuous process, and risk management plan is a live document. Poor documentation causes confusion. So keep all the documents, records updated. Not adapting the plans leads to failure. So keep your plans flexible. Overlooking small issues leads to big problems. So monitor the small issues. Poor time management causes delays. So prioritize your tasks effectively. Lack of transparency creates mistrust. Lack of communication causes mistrust. Share your updates religiously, periodically. Share your progress openly. Ignoring the dependencies in execution causes delays. Monitor each and every linked dependencies. Not tracking the performance leads to surprises. Keep tracking your progress continuously. Keep measuring your progress continuously. Weak collaboration reduces efficiency. So encourage teamwork. Ignoring feedback loops limits improvement. So review them regularly. Poor stakeholder communication causes confusion. Keep the stakeholders informed. No issue tracking leads to chaos. Log all the issues in the issue log continuously. Overconfidence leads to missed risks. So stay vigilant. Visualize all the risks. Lack of accountability causes delays. So assign the ownership. Poor meeting management wastes everyone's time. So manage your meetings and run only structured meetings. Ignoring the change request causes conflicts. So manage the changes efficiently. Weak leadership reduces team trust. So lead decisively. Not celebrating small wins reduces morale. So always acknowledge progress and motivate your team. Ignoring team burnout reduces productivity. So monitor the workload. The closing phase. Skipping the final deliverable validation leads to issues. Verify all the deliverables and output. Poor documentation causes knowledge loss. So finalize your documentation. Not capturing your lessons learned repeats your mistake. So conduct the reviews and record your lessons learned. Weak stakeholder closure creates dissatisfaction. So confirm acceptance with the stakeholders. Ignoring the team feedback limits the growth. So gather all the insights from your team. No performance evaluation reduces improvement. So assess the results, assess the performances. Poor handover causes confusion. So ensure smooth transition. Ignoring contract closure leads to risk. So finalize the agreements. Not celebrating the success reduces morale. So recognize performances, recognize achievements and celebrate them. Weak reporting reduces visibility. So prepare final reports. Ignoring unresolved issues causes future problems. Ensure all the issues on the issue log are closed. Poor archiving leads to lost data. So store your documentation properly. Not reviewing the KPIs in the end, that limits learning. So analyze the performance metrics with respect to the key performance indicators. Weak communication at closure causes confusion. So keep all the stakeholders communicated during closure. Ignoring financial closure causes discrepancies. So reconcile your budgets. No retrospective reduces your growth. So reflect on your outcomes. What could have been done better? What went wrong? And what could have been done better? Not updating organizational knowledge wastes the insights. So share the learnings on the project. Poor client feedback limits your improvement. So gather feedback from your customers, your clients. Rushing closure leads to missteps. So follow structured processes. Not preparing for future projects limits success. So apply your lessons learned. Project management isn't about perfection. It's about awareness and continuous improvement. If you can avoid even a fraction of these mistakes, you will be ahead of most of the new project managers. If you found this helpful, please subscribe to PMX Hub and let me know in the comments which mistakes have you seen the most in real projects. For more content on PMP exam and project management, please follow PMX Hub on YouTube, Facebook and Instagram. Thank you.